Two. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the 10th floor. I guess, you know what, get out of that waiting room and come on into the elevator ride since it's an unofficial weird Saturday.
It is.
It
It's
is.
it's a very weird Saturday.
Get out of that waiting room, though. Join us here on the elevator ride up to the 10th floor. Early. Usually we're on at 11 a.m. Pacific time,
Yeah,
reviewing General Hospital. But things have been so interesting when it comes to the WGA strike. Especially when it comes to some discussions that have been had on Twitter over the last week. Like everything that we're about to discuss came up in between the last time we podcasted about General Hospital and right now.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But how you
And
doing, Ma? Everything good? Everything good in your world right now? Everything's fine?
yeah, everything's good. Yeah, everything's good.
Good.
I don't keep up with Twitter as much as you do,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like every time I go on there, which is typically, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week,
Yeah.
but I'm like, gosh, there's always some kind of controversy or some kind of, I don't know, some kind of something.
There's always some sort of discussion that's happening,
Yeah,
usually about whether or not something is right or wrong, morally, in soaps. Whether a
yeah,
story is right or wrong, whether what a actor or actress is experiencing through the stories they're playing in conjunction with what's going on in their real life, whether that's right or wrong. You know, we've talked about whether or not it's right or wrong that Sasha has gone through so much. Is it right or wrong that this character of Sasha lost her child when the actress of Sophia Matson recently gave birth to a healthy baby boy? Was that right to do? Was it right to give Mac a son at the same time Felicia, Wagner, Lindsay, not Lindsay.
not Lindsay. No,
No,
no, no.
Wagner, though.
Yeah, Christina.
Christina Wagner. Was it right for
Yeah,
Mac to gain a son at the same time that Christina Wagner lost hers? You know, these discussions are not alien to soap Twitter. Is it right or is it wrong? Should they do it or should they not do it? It is the lifeblood of soap Twitter. Should Carly be prominent on General Hospital? Should it be somebody else? Should they have let Steve Burton go during the whole vaccination issue, or should they have kept him? Should Jason and Sam still be together? Is that right or is that wrong? When the actors don't seem to be having much fun with each other anymore.
yeah.
Hey, Jacarius.
Isn't that just, I don't know, individual perception,
It's all individual perception. It's all our different
right?
reactions and our takes to what we're watching. It
Sure.
is how we are consuming the entertainment that is being provided to us.
Yeah.
You know, we always do our best to take it in a positive light because that's how we watch it. That's how we've always consumed the material. We've always taken the show for what it's worth and liked it or didn't like it. But when it came down to it, we never felt any sort of ownership of the show. We never felt like they owed us a particular
No,
thing.
no.
We
And,
either liked what they were doing or we didn't like what they're doing. And that's still the case now.
we do have,
I
the
stand.
show's slogan motto.
Oh, yeah. We don't make fun of it. We make it fun.
Yeah. Do we poke fun at it?
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. It's goofy.
absolutely.
It's goofy.
We sure do poke fun at it.
Yeah, even
Pretty good at
Jacarius,
it.
Jacarius, he sticks his toe out there. He's commenting now in the chat. He sticks his toe out there in soap land, and he's got the soap after show here on YouTube as well. He puts his opinion out there, and he just said right now, some people's grilling him today after what he had to say on Twitter. So it's not like it's completely unique to just one account.
No,
It's something
no.
that everybody on Twitter who engages with the soap fans experiences at one time or the other. So it's I
Hmm.
don't know. It's an interesting little subsection of how people absorb their entertainment. And something that I learned a long time ago, and something we've talked about on the podcast. It's been a long time since I mentioned this though. Is I learned about 10 years ago that there are people out there that genuinely enjoy ripping apart the things that they enjoy. They navigate what they like through what they don't like about it.
Yeah,
And it's true. It's very prominent, especially in today's world, when it's so easy to get out there and just grab somebody's very quick opinion on Twitter or on
yes.
Facebook, Instagram. You can see a very quick snapshot of what somebody thinks.
Yeah, sometimes that whatever you might be reading, it could be true,
Hey,
could be
Melissa.
untrue that the person said it at all. Right?
Yeah, yeah, and then there's all kinds
Be
of
true.
context too that needs to be taken into consideration that may or may not be taken into consideration at the time, as well as when you're reading tone or when you're reading text, you make up your own tone. You decide when reading it.
Oh,
Your interpretation of the words decides the emotionality behind it, and your mood about the topic has a
I was
huge
saying, I
impact
was
on that.
absolutely, absolutely. And I have felt that way for the last 40 something years. Back when you've got mail, you
Hmm.
could do that with a tone, with you can read it in any fashion you like.
Yeah, yeah.
And
There's this.
sometimes if you're coming
Mhm.
into reading it and you've just experienced something that puts you kind of there already,
Yeah,
you'll be
absolutely.
even more apt.
There's this really fun Key and Peele sketch. Key and Peele was a sketch comedy show on Comedy Central for a couple of years with Keegan Michael Key and Jordan Peele. Keegan Michael
You know,
Key, he's an actor. You've seen him in a bunch of stuff. Keegan Michael Key. And then Jordan Peele, he's an actor that has made a lot of fame for himself when it comes to directing modern horror movies like Nope and Get Out.
yeah,
So they had a sketch comedy show together on Comedy Central, and one of their sketches was about these two dudes who were friends who were misreading the interpretation of the texts to each other. One dude was
mhm,
just trying to hang out and find out, oh, you want to hang out? When is it going to be? All that kind of stuff. But then the other dude was wildly misinterpreting the text as like combative and aggressive. And
right.
like, it's like, oh, you want, and like one of the questions was like, oh, you want to go? Like just very innocently, oh, you want to go there? You're like, do you want to go to this place? You want to go? But the dude read it
Right,
as, you want to go?
right, right.
And it just the aggression
Yeah,
grew on one side
yeah,
for no reason, just because they added tone that didn't exist to the original text.
yeah. Three words with completely different subject
Completely
matter.
different ones. So, it makes me think of that sort of stuff. But when it comes to specifically, what the title card is about and, the main topic, I guess, of discussion this time around is specifically an actor, Lisa Ann Walter, who is known for Abbott Elementary. That's a that's a very popular sitcom that's on prime time right now. I think it's on ABC. It's an Emmy award
Yep.
winning show. She plays Melissa Schemmenti, who's like a second grade teacher, I think, on the show, and it's very very fun, very popular character. I'm not going to sit here and lie on the 10th floor. I enjoy myself some Melissa Schemmenti on that show. She's a very good character.
I haven't watched Elementary, and you would think that I would have because I've got two children. Two of my children are teachers,
Yeah,
but I haven't
well,
watched.
check it out. You might actually find a lot of humor in it that maybe people who aren't teachers or
I could probably
closely
pick a
related to
character that's your
teachers.
sister. I probably could pick a character that's your sister.
Probably, probably. I imagine you'd be able to find one that's my brother as well. So, it's not now, but worth your time. Go watch it. It's funny stuff.
Yeah, well, I've heard it's wonderful. I have.
Melissa also reminds us that another prominent role that Lisa Ann Walter had was from The Parent Trap a while ago with Lindsay Lohan, the remake. She played Chessie, who was the nanny, maid, um,
Yeah,
housekeeper, close family
yeah,
friend of the
yeah,
American
and
side of
like
that story.
yeah, kind of like a mom figure,
Yeah, a mom figure for
one of
sure.
the twins.
Supportive of that. And when it comes down to it, the characters that I
Yes.
find Lisa Ann Walter playing are very similar to the experiences that I just had with her on the last week of Twitter, where she is incredibly passionate about what she believes in and really is walking with her heart first, going through things with her heart first. And there's some context that I want to lay down before we even get into screenshots and details about the interactions that have been going on Twitter. Um, Lisa Ann Walter is a prominent negotiating member of SAG. She is in it as deeply as anybody could be when it comes to the strike. It's not just simply not going to work and doing the pickets. It is trying to get the opposing side to the table to work out a deal that's going to be beneficial to the actors as well as the studios, to be able to go through all of this without succumbing to digital scans of your likeliness to be used forever without continued pay.
Yeah.
which is some of the things that the studios want to do. They just want to scan actors and that's it. Be done with them. So she's as deeply into it as anybody can be, and that means that she is going to be one of the most passionate people when it comes to fighting for her side, and that is undeniable.
Sure.
That is 100% undeniable. And I invited her to come onto the Twitter, on Twitter actually, to
Yeah.
discuss this.
I'm on YouTube with us. Yes.
Come on YouTube with us, and let me see if I can pull up the screenshot of her response right now. Yeah, so right here. So I said, hey, we're about to go on. You're welcome to come and explain your side. We here on the 10th floor, we are open to all sides of soap fandom. So long as you're detailed in how you feel and how you think, I'm totally here for what you have to say. And that's why we don't block anybody on Twitter. That's why we don't, and that's why we don't try to put a barrier between us and the people who watch the show, is because all of these opinions, to me at least, are valuable.
Sure.
So in that spirit, I invited her to
So,
come on.
we don't edit.
Yeah.
We don't edit our show. So why would we edit anything else?
Exactly. We don't edit our shows. And so, we're not going to edit
Yeah.
you. And we ask that you try to not edit us as well. And that might come up again a little bit later. But when it comes down to it, she says, I'm on a Zoom negotiating with the negotiating committee of her union right now. Have fun. But don't be clout chase with my pick, though. It's weird. That's kind of a strange statement to me. I don't know who else's picture I would use if it wasn't hers. I can say that people know who Chessie is. People know who Schemmenti is. But when it comes to the name Lisa Ann Walter, it might not be as prominent as the characters that she's played. Like when I originally retweeted what she had to say about the Scab Writers, which kind of kicked off this whole thing a week ago, I didn't recognize and realize who I was responding to because I didn't recognize the name. So, you consider that a fault of mine or not, I don't know. But this whole thing started because I didn't know the name Lisa Ann Walter, so I don't know who else's picture I would use. But I wish her the best of luck because I genuinely do want everybody to get what they need quickly. I would like the strike to be over. I would like my entertainment to continue. I would like for everybody to get back to work.
Absolutely.
And then she ends it, very nicely. She says, thank you. Hope so too. And for the daytime dramas, so I'm very appreciative that no matter what kind of interactions might be going on between the two of us, no matter how heated it might get in the moment, it does settle back down to being something that is
Well,
nice.
you guys are at the end of the discussion, you're on the same side.
We are absolutely on the same side. Absolutely. 100. Everybody wants the regular writers to get. Okay, I can't say everybody because there's a lot of snarky people out there that are like, this is way better. But I would say that more often than not, you're going to find somebody that wants the regular writers to come back to work. And when it comes down to it, General Hospital is kind of in the most unique position of all of the soaps when it comes to requiring these writers to begin with. Young and the Restless and Days of Our Lives are independently owned by a family. It's like one person.
The Bell family.
I'm not sure exactly who they are. I know they're in hot water right now because of Days of Our Lives, but I can't remember the names right now. I'm sure chat would be able to let us know.
Well,
or at least
CBS, Young and the Restless, Bold and YNR. That's the Bell family.
Okay.
On CBS.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sounds like you know a little bit more about it than I do. But they have a little bit more leeway when it comes to like the independence of their operations and such, and so they're not in much hot water. Added to that, Young and the Restless, before all of this started, let go of their entire writing staff, from my understanding, or at least the breakdown writers. They let go of a number of the writers that had been working for them before the strike started. Big controversial move. And that's pretty much the entire show, as I understand it. And, like I said, as I understand it, I don't have an article to point to right now to support this in any more from my understanding. But from my understanding, they have one guy that's kind of writing the entire thing right now. Versus General Hospital, which is keeping their show alive through these temporary writers so their regular writing staff can come back.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that as well, industry insiders have let me know that there is no requirement that soap operas use WGA writers to begin with. Unless the network is unless ABC is saying General Hospital, you must use WGA. There is nothing to say that General Hospital must beyond that requirement for ABC broadcasting their show.
Oh,
So now, I don't have, when it comes to this point, I don't have an article to point to. But when it comes down to it, is there really a requirement for them to use WGA at all? Or are they playing ball when the ball is on the field?
hmm.
You know what I mean? And if the ball
Yeah.
is off the field during a strike, what are they to do? Other than be forced to go in a different direction. But all of this to
It's
say,
like some kind of like unwritten agreement that they're just going to use these writers anyway,
from
even
my
though they don't
understanding,
have to.
Frank Valentini is a WGA member. He is not on strike right now because he is not a writer for General Hospital. He's the executive producer. It's a completely different thing. But as a member of the WGA, it makes sense that he would support the WGA when he can.
You would think so.
Seeing as they have hired temporary writers, I would go out on a limb and say Frank Valentini is in a position where he cannot stop production.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. The original article that was written.
The only way that it would stop
Mhm.
would be that actors of daytime decided to go on strike.
Which technically they are SAG members. SAG is on strike. But because of the netcode agreement that exists, they are still required to go to work at least until this agreement ends in, I think it's April of 2024.
Okay.
So when April of 2024 comes around and potentially this is not solved, then we might be looking at a completely different situation. I sincerely hope that it's solved by then, but if it isn't, we might be looking at a completely different situation entirely. Because if netcode expires and they don't renew it, then the actors are now on strike. Because they don't have that sub-agreement that says you're not on strike. You know?
Yeah. That sounds like the plot of a soap opera. It's only ridiculous if you say it out loud. No way.
Right. Hey to everybody in the chat. I'm sorry I haven't been shouting you out as quickly as I normally do on the podcast, but this is interesting, serious discussion stuff. This is the stuff I like to talk about that we really aren't able to really get into deeply on the regular podcast. This is the nerdy stuff that I really enjoy analyzing. But hello to the Tomlin family. Everybody's here. Leanne is here. Krista, hi. Jakarius, all you people. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us. I've got a poll going, and I'm going to keep it going up until the end of the broadcast. Do you think GH should be using temp writers, yes or no? And there's a split right now. 21% of people say no, 79% of people say yes. So even in the soap fandom, or at least the small section of soap fandom that's watching us live right now, there's a difference of opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, if all these soaps had like a ton of time in the can, like months and months, like Days of Our Lives, kind of like Days does, I know that, I don't know how, are they still 6 months ahead? Probably not, since they did the switch.
So they're actually, Days of Our Lives has halted production right now while they figure out what's going on with their executive producer.
Really?
My interpretation of events. That isn't exact language that I've been able to read in any sort of exact publication. But Days of Our Lives is in hot water right now over some abuses done by their executive producer, Alan Allar. I think his name is Alan.
I didn't even know anything about that stuff.
Well, it's interesting for us because we just stepped into the world of Days of Our Lives, and then they had this massive controversy. So I really don't know what to say much about it other than it sounds like all of these accusations are true. Something probably should be done about it, and it seems like something is being done about it. But when it comes down to it, it's very difficult to just pull somebody in the office and say, you're fired. There's all sorts of different things that you need to align before you can just kick somebody out the door, especially when they're in a big prominent position like the producer of a show.
If you have procedures written on how to terminate someone's employment, you have to actually follow your own procedures.
Right.
Most of the time, folks have to do that kind of stuff because they've already written it that way themselves. Right?
Right. So, I'm not completely abreast of all of the details. I saw the original article that was written about it. I've seen some reaction to it. But when it comes down to it, shoot, there's not a whole lot that I have to say about it other than it sounds like some wrong things happened and it should be corrected. But
Ah,
it's not up to us. It's not up to me. It's up to the people who run the show as to how they're going to be dealing with it. But if production has
so, and
halted
they're
for the
still,
time being, they'll figure it out. It
how
seems like
long
they're
has it
figuring it
been halted?
out. So they were on hiatus and they extended the shooting break after all of this came out.
So
Bless you.
they were having their normal 3 weeks off
Yeah.
and went beyond that.
Yeah, now it's going beyond that as I guess they figure it out. Because also that dude had responsibilities as well. You can't just usher somebody out the door and create a vacuum. You know, you gotta know who's going to be stepping up. You gotta know who's going to be taking the reins and doing whatever it is that this person was doing. They've already reached out to a brand new PR firm to help him out. So, you know, I think that that's probably a indication of at least some sort of internal movement happening.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay. All kinds of drama happened behind the scenes of the dramas.
right. And Ryan, hello Ryan. I haven't seen you in the chat before, so thank you for joining us for the first time. But Days does at least have the show written by their WGA writers at least through almost Christmas, and that is simply because they were already 6 months ahead. If Days of Our Lives was only 5 weeks ahead, like General Hospital was, they would be doing the exact same thing. Because people who work in soap operas know and understand this, and this is the most important point that we as fans of daytime dramas can make when it comes to why is it okay for this to be going on. I'm not going to talk about legalities. I'm not going to talk about moralities. I'm not going to talk about rights or wrong. I'm not going to talk about whether or not this is union busting or anything in this particular moment. What I'm going to talk about is the simple understanding of people who know daytime. If these shows were to go off the air with an indefinite hiatus, where we do not know when they would be coming back, they would not come back.
Absolutely.
All My Children was on for decades and was one of the most beloved soap operas in history. And ABC said, we don't need to be running 2 of these things anymore. Cooking shows are cheaper.
Sure did.
And they kept the one with the slightly better ratings, General Hospital.
Yep.
That is how precarious it is for daytime. That is how easy it could be for the network to decide, now we're done with this now. If you were to take...
And I think just the just the 80s, there's just the whole Luke and Laura and the whole just crazy phenomenon of General Hospital in the 80s is probably what saved their neck.
Mm-hmm. Probably just the continued, momentum in the time of making that decision. So that's how precarious it could be for soap operas. And also to put it in continued perspective, when the last writer's strike happened, there was 8 soaps on the air. Now there are only 3 on regular network television, and 1 is exclusive to streaming.
Yes.
The cancellation of those soaps, the 4 soaps that went off the air, happened within 2 or 3 years of the writer's strike, of the ending of the last writer's strike.
Yes.
Given contracts, given, how long things are renewed, given, seasons that shows have been signed for, that timeline does align with the networks coming and deciding to, okay, well, during this last strike, we realized that this, that, or the other thing, we should purge this. The timeline matches for that. Again, I don't have an article to point to, but the timeline matches. And all of this is important for anybody who's watching this to understand why this stance is being taken by soap fans. And it's not because we don't care. It's not because we don't want our writers to be paid well and to be taken care of and to be inspired to come to work every day and give us the best stories possible. It's simply because we know if they stop, it's over.
Exactly. This is how I feel about it, bottom line, from Mama Cat.
Yeah. And it has absolutely nothing to do with support or lack of support.
Okay. And I'm concerned about what they're concerned about beyond Hollywood. Because how much is the human ability going to be necessary going forward?
Yeah. Where's the heart and the soul of our stories going to be coming from if it's being produced by a robot?
Exactly.
So that's
And
why these
that's with
strikes are
everything
happening.
else. And that's kind of, and I see it kind of beyond that too. And I see it out in the marketplace, and I see how we all interact with each other, and what, it's just, it's going there
Hmm.
for a lot of things. And how are we supposed to pay for all this stuff when people aren't doing the stuff anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, simple thought pattern, I know, but still.
So I posted this on Twitter, and I think this also speaks to this point as well. I posted, and I'm showing it right now to all the people to read along because, like I said, we're a fair podcast. We're gonna point to what we can. Um, but I said today, if they wanted us to treat daytime like prime time, they wouldn't have spent the last 60 years devaluing the writers, actors, directors, and etc. They shouldn't have made netcode contracts for their actors. They shouldn't have put soaps in this position. And then I told them to fix it with the S word. But
I saw that.
but
Well,
it's this is also accurate. They're in this position because they were placed in this position. If there
yes,
was something else to do,
yes.
they would do it.
And I agree with you 100%. If soap operas went dark, they'd go dark for good. They would be done. Soap operas can't survive that.
Mm.
Not with only 3 left on the networks and 1 streaming, when there used to be 15
Yeah,
a few years ago.
yeah.
And is that how we want our beloved soap opera, the longest running show on television? That's how we want it to go away? That's how we want it to sail into the past? No.
No, no. People getting a little insight as to me running this whole podcast on one monitor because I have to click around, and sometimes it covers us. Anyway, uh,
Need another monitor, huh?
I need a second monitor. So, I'm going to put together an Amazon wish list, and you guys could just buy me stuff. Um,
Need another
Ryan
monitor.
Lyle, all of this is why I stuck up for you with Lisa on Twitter. We eat, sleep, and breathe soaps. Outsiders don't. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Outsiders, I'm, in jest, being irreverent about it. Nobody's an outsider. If you want to be a soap fan, you can come on board and start watching. At least when it comes to the 10th floor. If you want to start watching General Hospital and come on up every Sunday, you are more than welcome. You know,
There are.
but people who do not, people
Back
who
tomorrow.
like tomorrow morning, starting at 9 a.m. actually for Days of Our Lives. Um,
Yeah.
but but yeah, outsiders, insiders, people who love soaps, people who don't love soaps, people who watch soaps when they were 12 and then are like, ha ha ha, what a silly little thing. I can't believe that's still on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
um, Amanda says, soap fans want writers, actors, and crew to be paid a fair wage, but asking hundreds of soap writers, crew, and all of them to lose their jobs is selfish. They agree with you and they support you, and many on the lines are not on the set. We need to focus on the real problem. And that's also a very accurate, at least in my opinion, an accurate
Mhm.
look at it as well. There's a lot of passion, and there's a lot of passion, especially when it comes to Lisa. She's really led the fight, led the charge. I don't want to say fight, but led the charge
Absolutely.
when it comes to
Yes.
the or at least her stance, her representation of SAG, because
Sure.
she's a SAG representative.
Yeah, she's the representative. She wants to do a good job at that, of course, because she wants her fellow, from everybody
Mm-hmm.
to have what they're just good.
Yes. When it comes down to it, I was trying to lead into this point earlier, but it's 10th floor. We tangent all over the place. But she, since she's been living and breathing SAG leadership for her entire career, she's been a chief negotiating member of this thing for a very, very, very long time. When it comes down to it, this is the most passionate thing that she can be doing with her time right now. And there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of care. It's not just about her, it's about the industry, it's about everybody. It's about soaps. It's about prime time.
Yeah.
It's about Disney. It's a Disney Channel. It's about ABC Family Channel. It's about everything. It's about everything. And that is very
Sure.
clear when it comes to the passion
Yeah.
that she's bringing to this.
I think Hollywood, and I'm just a fan, I'm just a viewer. I think Hollywood, the actors and the folks involved in Hollywood are feeling minimized.
They're absolutely feeling minimized, and
They're feeling minimized.
this is an
And
interesting.
they're seeing a trend that it's not going in the right direction.
It's not going in the right direction. No.
You know, and folks are in the position they're in because they're passionate about it. They love what they're doing. You know, and there's a small little group that is making good money. The
Yeah,
rest
yeah.
of them are scratching.
And so it was something like 91% of SAG members don't even make enough for their healthcare plan.
Right.
There are, the faces of people that you see that are guest starring on everything, but have never been a lead or haven't been the lead of a successful show of their own. But, there would be faces that you're like, I know that guy from this, that, this, that, this, and that.
Right.
Those are the actors that are scraping by.
Yeah.
They're able to pay their rent because they're working so much.
So, I absolutely I don't think any of them are coming from a place that's unjust,
No.
what their desire is. And I don't think there is an ounce of greed in anybody.
Not when it comes to the protesters. Not when it comes to those who are on
No.
strike. All of the greed is coming from the studios. We've all seen the pie chart, or at least we've seen the pie chart here on the 10th floor, where it is 99% of these profits can still go to these extremely rich billionaires already. We just need a fraction more, so our lives
Exactly. And we're not
can
talking
work.
about sharing operation costs,
No,
right?
no. It's simply like the studio executives and such are making millions and millions and millions. Like the salary of one of these guys can be reduced slightly and give the actors and writers what they're asking for. It is a blatant cash grab of greed. It is, I mean, we don't get into this stuff because we're reaction podcast to entertainment show. We're
Sure.
an entertainment show. Usually we don't get into deep things like this. Where I'm going to say the statement like, these executives are essentially showing that they are Donald Trump. They want to be Donald Trump. They've taken Donald Trump's charge, his lead, and said, you know what? Screw you guys. This is our pull for what we've always wanted. It's so clear. It is so clear. With them being unwilling to even come to the negotiating table to talk about this digital scan thing. At the bare minimum. Not even being willing to talk about it. Which goes to show me a complete outsider who's only watching this, who isn't involved in entertainment other than reacting to entertainment. I can see how insidious it is. I can see how evil it is. I can see how these studios executives are drawing the line of war right now in front of our very eyes, saying this is going to be the future of movies. If you don't like it, screw off. It's horrible.
It is.
It's horrible.
It really is.
It is horrible.
It really is. It really is. It really is.
But back to the topic specifically here with the interactions on Twitter. There are some questions that I have presented to people who have represented the WGA or represented SAG throughout these discussions, and these questions have gone unanswered every single time they've been posed. Now, is it because it's Twitter and it's difficult to follow along? Probably. That's why I extended the invite. But little things, little I feel as though easy to answer questions. For example, being told that we don't understand what FICOR is, but no detail following that. The question of what is FICOR if it's not what's happening right now? If we're not using FICOR writers, what is really going on? Are these truly people just from the street that are coming into the office? Because that's a completely different argument than people who are actually in FICOR status.
Right.
Is ending soaps an acceptable loss to the WGA? Yes or no? How do other contracts in play?
I hope not.
Right. How do other contracts in play get satisfied without scripts? There's gray area in here. It's not black or white. It's not on or off. There are serious consequences that the soap industry understands. It's not simple. I added on to that as well because she circled back to this after a few days of the whole controversy kind of dying down on Twitter and us kind of going back to our corners and going on our merry way. But she came back to this to talk specifically to us about amending our statement, about what we had said before, which is kind of weird policing of language and such, but whatever, So I also posed the question, is circling I'm sorry?
That's just what we were talking about earlier, than when we first started talking about interpretation.
Yeah,
Really is
exactly.
that.
And I might
But
have
go ahead.
taken a
I'm sorry.
screenshot or not. I might have taken the screenshot or not. I'll see if it's in this list or not. But my retort to that though was I didn't. There wasn't anything that I necessarily learned from Lisa in that, because all she ever said was that we were wrong. There was more people from the industry reaching out to me in private on Messenger with accurate information, or at least the more detailed information from their side than what I was getting from Lisa. So,
Okay.
it's difficult for me to amend my statement and say I learned something when I didn't really learn anything from her in that moment. That's why, again, I always kept the conversation open and invited her to come here today. But I also wanted to know from her, is circling back to this thing about the writers more important than dealing with SAG right now regarding Days of Our Lives? I felt as though that was a valid statement as well, because she circled back to something that's kind of old news. It's 2-month old news to start with, and then circled back to it again to kind of rekindle the flames on Twitter for no reason that I could see. When there was something, happening that was egregious right now that SAG could do something in this very moment about. But her response to that, and again, I'm showing this to you guys, everybody, just to be fair, just to show what really happened. You can go to our account, you can go to her account, you can see all of these things. I haven't deleted anything. So, but she called me combative and single-minded. She said she didn't have time to argue and educate me because she's focused on work with the negotiating committee, the strike, organizing and fundraising for those who have lost their jobs during this labor action, like soap writers replaced by scabs. I feel as though there might be a little bit of a misunderstanding in there, because the writers who are protesting right now and cannot write for soaps have not been let go from their jobs. They have not been fired. They're going to come back to the show that they work for.
Except for the ones that CBS let go early.
But that was before the strike. So
that was a dirty move.
Melissa wants to make SAG great again. Oh, Melissa. So yeah, these soap writers haven't lost their jobs. It's temporary writers. That's what the language is. They're not even calling them scabs. They're calling them temp writers, because that's what they are. They are temporary seat fillers so the machine can keep going. So the debate is this right or wrong? If you say it is wrong and they need to stop, then you're saying that soaps need to stop. It's the same thing. It's saying that soaps need to go away. Well, I don't think that soaps need to go away, but that's what would happen if they stopped writing.
That's the reality of it.
That's the reality of it. Exactly. So I just wanted,
and I just don't think that necessarily folks have thought that through, or know enough about daytime, or know enough about soap operas to know that, to know what a wobbly bridge they're on. You know that bridge with the stupid ropes that you're like this? That's what soap operas are on. Even though it's the longest running show on television.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why is it the longest running show on television if there wasn't still some value to it?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
So it's, yeah.
Would it be, I think it would be great to think that they could go dark and be able to come back, and everybody would just
be great. That would be ideal if that could happen. If the network would say, we will do that, your soaps will be back after this thing, then there would be a completely different change of opinion when it comes to soap fans. I promise you that.
Yep.
Promise you that.
Maybe the studios wouldn't feel, I don't know.
Melissa hopes that Lisa doesn't use the 10th floor tweets to clout chase. Yeah, I hope so too. I don't know what clout she could possibly get from this. It did seem like she valued our stance enough to ask us to change it in a public setting. So, I guess that's complimentary in some way. So, yeah.
I think it 100% just comes from
passion,
attitude, and perception of when
perception, being in a heated thought, being in a heated mental space regarding what was going on. I have no idea what her morning was like. I have no idea why she decided to go back to the tweet and reply to it.
And she doesn't know anything about us. Okay.
Well, and that's another point that I kind of want to talk about.
And the nature of Twitter is not, you can assume it to be positive.
Yeah, you really can't assume Twitter to be positive. That's a very when you are an island of positivity like the 10th floor podcast Twitter is, you would assume that we're being snarky when we're not, because that's what the rest of Twitter is. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know what her morning was like. I don't know what came about from it. But
All
is
I
what it
know is
is.
I want all the strike stuff
Um,
to end soon. You
I
know,
just find it, it's just interesting because every once in a while this comes up, and it's not Lisa specifically. Other people who don't watch the podcast or haven't followed the Twitter feed have been like, well, why are you so like this? When if you were to watch the podcast or if you were to follow the Twitter feed in any sort of time, you would see that we are not that. We are not argumentative much. We are not combative. We are argumentative to undetailed responses. We at least me. I don't want to say we because you have a different way of conversing with people than I do. But I want to push people for more detail. I want to understand why they think what they do. I want to know what is feeding into these opinions
yes.
because I want to understand what they think, because I don't think that is invalid. I don't think that it's wrong. I want to know
No.
why. I want to know what you know that I don't know about this situation that makes you think this.
And I think as human beings, a lot of us feel like that if you share that somehow you're going to have to defend it as well. And that's not the case
No, I just want to
with
know.
you.
And I might challenge it a little bit because I've got a
Right.
question or because I don't
Right.
agree and I would like more detail or more information. But when I say, oh, well, but what about this? It's not, well, what about this? You're wrong. It's how does this, in comparison to what you just say, interact? How does that conflate? It's because Matt looks like a werewolf. They misinterpret him. I just need to trim the beard back and I'll look like less wolf-like. Maybe that's it. That's exactly it. Interestingly enough, she called me ma'am before, and I was again showing that just unfamiliarity with the
Right.
podcast. It's easy to assume that a soap fan is going to be a woman. But
Oh,
it
absolutely.
just goes to show, to support the fact that she doesn't really know the podcast. So catching some of this
Absolutely.
heat is a little it just sucks a little bit, especially when the responses, at least in my opinion, have always been very kind. Um, to that same token, I do want to show some of the more I don't know, less flattering things that were also tweeted as well, just out of fairness and showing both sides, because to me it matters. It does. Um, uh, so I've been asking her to answer some questions like the ones that I had listed. Is it an acceptable loss? What should they do? All that kind of stuff. And she couldn't bring me any details until a fan of the podcast backed us up a little bit and said, why don't you copy and paste some of the language of the stuff that you're talking about? And then we can know what you're, what's going on. Um,
Mhm.
and she replies, oh, this is a great idea. Listen, I just got finished doing mission statements in a Zoom call, so I don't have time right now, but I'll get to that. Uh, so cool. But I did have to say that she was confusing to me because I pretty much asked her to do the exact same thing, but she called me combative. Somebody else does it's a great idea, but I am happy that she's finally going to be providing some information, so I'm looking out for that. Um,
Well, somehow the phrase cut and paste put herself in a whole different frame of mind.
And that seems to be the case because she followed up. She
Yes.
said, you didn't, and I'm showing the tweets right now, Maya, because I know you can't see these. She said, you never said cut and paste, and I can quote tweet your mean responses each time too, friend, but you won't like the result, just letting you know. I had two
Good luck
responses to
finding
that.
them.
Yeah, so I had two responses to that. The first one was, I never said cut and paste. I mean, I didn't include instructions on how to answer. I was combative. That makes zero sense to me. Um, so, just to show kind of what, us really bringing pleasantness, I think. I feel like I kind of need to defend the podcast a little bit when it comes to these interactions. Um, but then, I didn't really appreciate the light threat that kind of was on there as well. That was included because she said that she could retweet our mean responses and I wouldn't like the result, which means that basically a Twitter mob would be sent after me over what I've said to her.
Mhm.
To which I had to say, go ahead and quote tweet me being mean. I said that because I know that she can't. Um, and then lightly threatening a Twitter mob me isn't really concerning because I work in soap Twitter and a Twitter mob is weekly. I'm really not worried about a bunch of people coming to my account and saying, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, gosh, golly, you're so mean." Um,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
still going to
it
podcast on
doesn't take
Sundays.
much to provoke that. Actually,
It
it
really
happens
doesn't. I can,
easy on its own. It's freaking organic. Okay.
and that's the whole thing. All I have to do is say Finn and Elizabeth were great today, and I will have 400 people telling me how wrong I am and how I support misogyny. So it's
There you go.
it's um so yeah, it's it's wild. It's wild to me a little bit. So lots of perspective, lots of gray area here. Just trying to cover it all in total, just to be fair to the situation and to bring some clarity to people who maybe aren't watching this on Twitter or getting lost in the shuffle because so much is going on. And we've been broadcasting for probably, I don't even know how long, 45 minutes or so, and I have no idea what's been happening on Twitter. I could have 400 notifications by now of other things that have gone on. But Ryan, fan of the show, he was in the chat here as well. So pushing Lisa to put some of that energy in advocating for soaps and advocating with the WGA and SAG for daytime. Put this energy and direct it to the executives that are causing the problem, not the audience that just wants to be entertained.
Yeah.
We have no impact on this. Soap Twitter is not going to be the resolution to the conflict. Soap Twitter also, soap operas themselves still being in production isn't really going to have a big impact on the industry as a whole either, because you guys have already diminished soap operas as a part of the industry.
Like I
If they're
said, it's
valueless, why does it
on that
matter?
shaky bridge already. Like I said.
So, I know that came out a little bit passionate, but it's the truth. So it's just been an interesting experience on Twitter. I'm not worried about a soap mob. It is what it is. Amanda says she and her friend left you and went after me, so I'll have to check my notifications there and see what happened to Amanda. I'm sorry that people are getting swept up in this, but again, it's just passion from all sides. It's passions from all sides.
Yeah.
Everybody wants their entertainment to continue, and everybody wants everybody to be taken care of in their entertainment. It's been really eye-opening for me. I don't have any more tweets to show, so now we're just going to talk. It's been really eye-opening to me throughout this experience, throughout podcasting over the last 3 or 4 years, interviewing some of the people that we have, having coffee dates with Fido, and then seeing all of this stuff with the strikes. It's really humanized television for me.
So much so. Yes, I agree with you. I haven't thought about that, but yeah.
There's always been like this emotional disconnect, or this like break in reality between the life that I'm living versus the people that are presenting my television entertainment. There was always something about, oh man, the decisions that they made that made them different than the rest of us. The talent that they have that makes them almost glorified in a way that a normal person isn't. Is really fading a lot for me, and that's not to be disrespectful in any way. It's eye-opening to the realities of the real lives of the people that are doing this, and to see the checks, the checks that the writers have gotten and the checks that the actors have gotten for residuals that are 30 cents, $5, like that's money that means nothing to me. Well, I mean, it's not nothing, nothing, but $5 isn't going to be the difference between me being able to feed my family or make my rent. $5 isn't it. I'm not going to be $5 short. I will be able to find $5 somewhere else if it was that close. You know what I mean?
I would like to know how much. I mean, of course, it would be a scale because there's different, depending on what you're viewing.
Yeah.
How much money does it cost a network or to program, to have something in rerun? What does it cost?
I can't tell you the cost, but I can tell you that the profits are insane.
Profits are insane.
The profits are insane.
So,
Marvel, you know how they talk about those billion-dollar movies? Like the Avengers made over $1 billion worldwide. That movie was made for what, $400 million? Which means that they had $600 million of profit on one movie. And then they can take $100 million of that profit and make a whole other movie and still have $500 million left over from the first one they made.
Yeah. So what, like for instance, an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Uh-huh.
What's that making the network? What's
But
it making?
by the end of those, by the end of the last season of Friends, the last season of Everybody Loves Raymond, the last season of Big Bang Theory, those cast members were all making over $1 million per episode, just in pay for the actors alone.
What do
So
they
the
get?
budget for each episode would have been in the millions of millions. Because they still had to pay the crew and build the sets and write the scripts and all that kind of stuff. And if they had enough money to pay one person, the star of the show, $1 million per episode, and had enough money to pay everybody else to do this episode, and still had enough money made from doing that show to pay the executive millions upon millions more than the actor who's the star of the show, then they are making money hand over fist and always have been.
Even in syndication.
Especially in syndication. And that's really what the big thing is, because all of these deals were in place because of syndication. Mm-hmm. Residuals were good because of syndication, but the executives had taken syndication away.
Oh.
Big Bang Theory you can find in the afternoons on some local station, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But these are always syndicated shows, big primetime hits that lasted for 10 years.
Yeah, big shows.
Xena Warrior Princess was exclusively syndicated. It didn't have a home network. It would have no place to be today on regular broadcast TV. Star Trek used to be completely 100% syndicated until the last 3 shows, I think, were exclusive to Paramount, UPN, and now on Paramount Plus, all of the new stuff.
Yeah.
But it used to be purely syndicated. Star Trek The Next Generation didn't have a home network. It was on whatever station it was on in your local area.
So because of that...
But that stuff is gone now because of streaming.
Right.
And streaming is different than syndication.
It is, but the data's there to still be able to compile.
The data is there. The data is absolutely there, and that's a big part of this thing. But the issue is, all of these deals and contracts and agreements are in place for syndication, but there's nothing in place when it comes to streaming.
Right.
Well, if there's no deal made for streaming, we don't have to pay anybody because there's no agreement.
Right, but that doesn't mean there shouldn't be one.
Well, yes, and that's what the strike is about. And everybody agrees that there should be one. Everybody agrees that the executives are being evil assholes. Everybody agrees with this. There's nobody on the planet, and well, maybe not nobody on the planet, but there's a lot of people out there.
A lot of people on the planet
that understand explicitly, implicitly what the hell is going on out there when it comes to the extreme evil of the people who are running these businesses. And it is just so blatant in a way that it has never been as blatant before. But all of this just to say, leave us alone on soaps. We get it. We understand. Everybody wants, and really when it comes down to it, everybody wants the same thing. And I do appreciate that when it's all said and done, when the snarkiness is taken out, when there is a chance to be able to breathe and come back to the tweets and come back to the responses, I am very happy that cooler heads have always prevailed, at least when it comes to the interactions that I've had. Cooler heads always prevailed. We are really doing our best when it comes to really carving out a reputation out there of being one of real conversation.
Yes.
Because that's what we want to do. That's what Ma and I have every week. That's why we open the chat, because we want to have real conversation. And thank you to everybody who comes every week to talk to us. Thank you for everybody that came to talk with us throughout this today and voting in the poll. 80% now saying yes, it's okay. 20% saying no. It's still a split of opinion out there. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. And also thank you to people
and if you're not sick of us, you can come back and see us in the morning.
Yeah, you can see us in the morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time for Days of Our Lives, and then 11 a.m. Pacific time for General Hospital. It really looks like it's going to start being a Sunday soap block. I'll have to come up with a fun sudsy name. Oh, speaking of sudsies, that's tomorrow as well, the Sudsy Awards.
Oh, what time is that?
I don't know exactly when it's going to be posted, but it's going to be posted on the Squared and the Circle podcast, Twitter, and I think they have a YouTube page as well. I think they're going to make the audio available. So that's going to be released tomorrow. So you'll find out who we think the winners are of the last 12 months of, best hero, worst villain, best
Yeah,
fall was one of them. Who
yeah,
won? Who won the best tumble around? Was it wrestling or General Hospital, right? So
yeah.
that's going to be fun. So keep your eyes out for that on Twitter. We'll retweet it out on our Twitter page as well at 10th Floor GH when that becomes available. That was fun to do. We did a little video for that. So that was
Yeah,
a
we
good
did.
time. And then tomorrow, like I said, 9 a.m. Days of Our Lives. We'll go over the wackiness of Salem. And then we'll fly over to Port Charles and climb on up to the 10th floor and get it all figured out. But it's going to be a fun morning, and we're really looking forward to spending more of our mornings with you all, talking
Yes,
about the
we are.
crazy world of Soapland and just, having a great time. You should call it the Soapbox Sunday. That's good. That's good, Melissa, because I do need a little catchphrase, a little tag for it to roll that around in my
That's
brain a
really
little bit.
actually quite good. Let's count on Melissa to come up with good stuff.
Yeah, Melissa's creative. She's wonderful.
Very clever. Clever girl.
So yeah, and Angela will join us as well. So it'll be Matt, Kat, and Angela for
Yep.
the Days of Our Lives thing. Yeah, that was good. So thanks for everyone for joining us, Lisa and Walter. If you wound up watching this, reach out to us. Well, the door is still open for you to come and talk us through this. Provide the detail and the audience. They joined us and they were very complimentary to the whole thing in chat, as they are every single week.
Yes, we don't allow
Yeah.
we don't allow things to go there in our
So,
chat.
if you ever do wind up coming, it's not going to be a fight, it's going to be a conversation. I'll have
Exactly.
questions. I'll say, can you clarify that? I'll say, but what about the feelings and opinions here? And the answer could be those feelings and opinions don't matter. That is a valid answer. It really is. It's not going to be one that makes people feel good, but it's still a valid answer, So, anyway. Amanda likes it. Soapbox Sunday. Okay.
Mm.
I'm making that audio into a motivational ringtone. Well, thank you very much, Melissa. And you're welcome, everybody, for the chat today and anytime. So join us anytime. Leave a comment if you weren't here. Matt's on a soapbox again. There we go. I'll do it. If you want me to do some real takes about soaps, I'll do it. I'll have to keep it off of the regular podcast because I do really want a particular tone and style for that. But if you enjoyed what we were talking about today, kind of stripping it all away and talking from the hearts, we'll do it again for you if you want.
Why not?
Well, might as well. We'll see how many unpopular takes we can get. How many bad opinions people can have. I don't know. It's just what I expect from the internet. Anyway, get on out of here. Go spend some time with your families. I've been Matt.
I've been Kat.
And we'll catch you next time right here on the 10th floor. Well, I guess at Salem University tomorrow morning. Bye.
See you morning.
Okay, that's done.